Sunset was sure that destiny had returned to her side. The universe wanted her to become an Alicorn now, for only an hour after she had returned to the old castle in Everfree, she discovered a very old scroll wedged deep between the library shelves. It was tattered and fading. It gave very few details, but it spoke of exactly what she needed. Three pieces of enchanted regal ware, forged long ago and hidden somewhere in Equestria. An amulet to grant one magic, a crown to grant one wings, and a set of hoof guards to grant one strength and longevity. The Dark Regalia. According to the scroll, the pieces had been split up and given to their respective tribes for them to hide away. All Sunset needed to do was find them. She danced back and forth on the tips of her hooves, then burned the scroll. Nobody else would be needing it. She transfigured a black cloak from a torn tapestry and wrapped it around herself, pulling the hood over her face. She would start with the amulet. Canterlot's underbelly was known to deal in forbidden objects from time to time. If there was any information to be gathered, it would be there. She was also dying to learn more about Princess Twilight Sparkle. Sunset crouched behind a large gnarled root, one of the many exuding from the hollowed-out tree decorated with tribal masks from Zabrika. Her mission was already starting to feel like a wild goose chase. She had picked up useful information at Canterlot regarding the Alicorn amulet, eventually finding a peddler who claimed to have it, only to find he had sold it months ago. To whom he could not say. Like Sunset, the buyer had kept her face hidden the entire time. Then it dawned on Sunset that the amulet had been purchased. It was most likely to have been used. If it had been used, it would have left a signature of magical energy as powerful as the scroll claimed. So Sunset was both delighted and annoyed to find that the faint trail led her to the back of Everfree Forest. Why would a zebra come here to live? She murmured, staring at the treehouse. In the end, she was supposed of little importance. The real question was if the zebra was wearing the Alicorn amulet. Sunset doubted. However, she had collected information on all the major events she had missed in what apparently had been a 13-year absence. Sunset shuddered. 13 years. It was something she couldn't wrap her head around. Nothing felt different from 2 days earlier, when she was 2 years in the past. That explosion, or she had come to discover the sonic rain boom, messed up her spell so badly. Not only had she gone the wrong way in time, she oversaw her intended mark of 5 years. And since she hadn't snapped back yet, Sunset knew she was a refugee of time. Regardless, in her information hunting, Sunset had heard nothing of a zebra wielding unicorn magic. Something like that would have been the talk of Equestria. The zebra in question would have probably not waste time in living in such a forsaken place. Still, Sunset knew it was wise to keep her guard up just in case. Her horn lit, and a faint red outline appeared over her body as she camouflaged into the background. She focused on the tree, the bark fancying to reveal the outline of the interior. Inside, she could see a mass of red moving about, putting items into what appeared to be a bag. The mass then turned to the door, and Sunset snapped her magic off, ducking lower. The zebra stepped outside and took a deep breath of air. She said Sunset could not make heads or tails of, set down the forest path. Sunset waited 10 minutes before getting up to move closer. She stopped at a tree's threshold and frowned. Something was making her horn tingle, like it was picking up magic. She closed her eyes and probed the tree again, finding wards around the entrance and windows. Did she make these the Alicorn amulet? They weren't particularly strong, yet they had Sunset trembling with excitement. If a zebra could make defense wards, she could only imagine the power she would soon wield. It took a minute of concentration before the wards collapsed and Sunset stepped inside. Odd trinkets and baubles littered the main room, a large cauldron taking up Sarah's space. Sunset took no discretion in searching for the amulet. The bigger mess she made, the harder it would be for the zebra to notice what was gone. She tore through drawers, broke open bottles, and even searched through the bedroom. She found her prize hidden in a small box beneath the bed. The ruby jewel emitted a soft glow when she pulled the amulet from the box. She licked her lips hungrily and snapped it around her neck. The effect was instantaneous, like a dam had broken and flooded her with magic. She gave a flick of her horn and created a miniature whirlwind to tear through the tree, tossing any remaining items that had not been touched into the four corners. While the mad laughed, she fancied a bolt of crimson light. Cloudsdale Library was quiet and empty, save for the librarian. Sunset attributed that to the fact that most Pegasi were probably too dumb to read. She spent all morning searching through the mythology books. Surprised when her search turned up nothing useful. Just what she already knew. None of the books gave her even a hint of the Tempest Crown's location. Sunset would not give up, though. She turned towards the history with the idea that maybe the Pegasi didn't consider the crown as a myth, but as a fact. Sure enough, within a text describing the founding of Las Pegasus, she found a concrete reference to the Tempest Crown, said to be worn by Captain Gale and handed through his family. Fortunately, after looking through the genealogy books, Sunset learned that Gale had no more living relatives. Still, something was better than nothing. She left the library with her new destination in mind. Her drew trials when a thought trickled her brain. She just spent an hour looking through somebody else's family tree, yet she knew nothing of her own, despite the fact that her parents had abandoned her. Longing filled her to know who they were and why they had done it. With that longing came a desire to paint them back as fools. Hal Sage sat in the shadow of Full Mountain. The small village was surrounded by thick trees that guarded the townsfolk from the outside world. It was silent as a graveyard when sunset arrived before midnight. She took quick, even steps as she strolled through her village, heart tightening her chest. Morning glory, midnight. She finally knew the names of her parents. It would take her several hours and covert trips to her old orphanage and the hospital she was born in before she discovered who they were and where they lived. Unwilling to wait until morning, Sunset approached the doorstep. You would meet her now. You'll look upon the child he abandoned. She pounded the door with determined force. She was about to blast the door down when an off-horns-coated mare stands through the door. Her eyes, however, met Sunset's to a tree, and her yellow mane was the same shade as the streaks in Sunset's. Hello? Can I help you? Her eyes were lined with sleep, and there was a subtle grogginess mixed in fear with her tone of apprehension. Sunset did not care if she had roused the mare from bed. She would not be kept waiting any longer. Still, she kept a lid on her emotions and said in a rather pleasant voice, I certainly hope so. Is this the home of Midnight and Morning Glory? Yes it is. I'm Morning Glory. Do I know you? Sunset lowered her hood. Morning Glory showed no sign of recognition. Such a shame, Sunset said, ignoring the spasm of fury in her chest. You really don't recognize me. I'm heartbroken. Behind Morning Glory, a middle-aged stallion appeared. His coat was a deep blue, but Sunset could tell his graying mane had once been the same fiery red as hers. Honey, who's at the door? His eyes dilated. He took a step back. Pointed a shaking hoof at Sunset. I don't believe it. It's you. See, at least a father bothers to remember his own daughter. Like you, mother. The word was asked in Sunset's mouth. She already had a mother, and this pony was not her. A wave of satisfaction thrown a word in her face. Morning Glory's expression dissolved into a look of horror. Mother, that means you're... I'm the daughter you abandoned so long ago. I am Sunset Shimmer. She advanced through the doorways. Morning Glory staggered back like she had been punched in the chest. I suppose I should at least thank you for my name. So at present you left me after all. Midnight stepped up and put a hoof on his wife, looked ready to fall over. Sunset, why don't you come inside so we can talk? He said civilly. Sunset stepped to the welcome mat, swung the door shut behind her. Don't worry. I don't plan on staying too long. I just wanted to see my birth parents at last, see what had become of them. Ask them why they left me when I was not even a year old. Both of them flinched, much to Sunset's vindication. Sunset, Morning started. It wasn't an easy decision. We just couldn't handle being parents at the time. We could barely support ourselves, let alone feed a child. We thought you'd be better off somewhere else. Sunset looked around the inside of their home. It wasn't lavish by any means, but was far cry from anything ponies could call poor. You seem to be doing well now. Midnight nodded. Yes, we managed to turn things around later on. Then why didn't you come back for me? Sunset demanded. Morning looked at her. fighting away tears and speaking in a strained voice. We thought by then somebody else would taking you in. You would be happy. I spent 10 years in that orphanage. 10 years. All the other ponies got adopted, but not me. Never me. You think I was happy? How could I be happy in a place like that? Maureen burst into sobs, hiding her face over her hose. And I took over and said, "We are so sorry, Sunset. If we had known." If you had known. This is it, isn't it? Sunset took a predatory step closer. You didn't want to know. Plausible deniability. Somebody's suffering doesn't really happen if you don't know about it. And I swallowed apprehension. Sunset, that's not true. I mean, I wasn't exactly hard to find. Sunset continued, ignoring her father. Once I became Princess Celestia's student, I thought maybe they'll find me. I'm right next to the princess after all. Maureen started crying, looked up at Sunset. You were the princess's student? Oh, sweetie, that's... Don't you dare call me sweetie. Don't tell me you're proud of me. Don't say you love me, because I know you're lying. Sunset, we do love you. And I said with a desperate plea. We promise. We'll try to make up for not being in your life. We truly are sorry. Sunset laughed bubbles of cruel mirth that floated around the living room and clawed the air. You're sorry? No, you're not. Not yet, anyway. She drew closer to him, a smile virile. You want to make up to me for not being in my life? A silver dagger appeared by her side. Give me yours. Sunset flew out of the whirlwind and crashed against the damp stone floor. Despite the pain throbbing in her shoulder, she didn't let go of the crown clutched in her hose. She had to tip his crown against her chest and savored her moment of triumph. The Pegasus made an effort to hide it, but a little labyrinth and a tornado could not stop her. She jumped to her hose and placed the crown on her head, laughter still bouncing around the cavern. Like the magic of the alicorn amulet had given her, the effect of the crown was spontaneous. Sunset was lifted into the air, and a swirl of red light danced around her midsection. Sunset started to push against her shoulder blades and protrude from her back, though she just laughed through the pain. The red light spun faster, bringing her new apprentices into the world feather by feather. Sunset could feel the connection with her new extensions already, taking to them like she had all along. When the light faded, Sunset hovered above the cave floor, gently flapping her new angelic wings. Her head turned to the right, then to the left, examining each one in turn. They were large and feathery, and matched her coat color. They reminded her of Princess Celestia, a thought that saved the memories of being touched in her embrace. She touched back onto the ground and shoved the thoughts into the recesses of her mind. She would not get sentimental and penitent, not when she was so close, not when she finally had her wings. Sunset jumped into the air, screaming with delight as he did a lap around the cave. Flying was everything she would dreamed it would be. Even in the confined space, she felt weightless and free. She was faster than ever before, and now held dominion over the skies. All she needed was the power of the Ascendian hoof guards. She'd be a true Yalicorn. She landed back on the ground and took notice of the 3 ponies near the mouth of the tunnel. Her parents' animated corpses stood with the vigils of statues, while between them lay the motionless Pegasus mare. Sunset did not know her name, nor did she care. As Captain Kale told her, she needed a living Pegasus to get this far, for her soul happened to be in the right place at the wrong time. Dead now, Sunset murmured as he eyed them. Princess Twilight Sparkle and colorful friends were already aware the amulet was missing. A report had gone out about 2 ponies that had abducted from Hollow Shades. Some pony would come looking for this mare as well. It no longer served any use for her other than attracting attention. Well, Mother, Father, this is where we say goodbye, I'm afraid. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Sunset blinked, and a red mist seemed to dispel from around the older ponies. The body swayed for a second, then fell over, never to move again. Water brushed across the bottom of Sunset's hose, while she regarded the unconscious Pegasus. The cave would probably flood before she escaped. Just in case, Sunset snatched a stalactite from the top of the cave, hurled it down, peeling the mare in the throat. She gurgled for a second, blood pooling from the gaping wound, or becoming as lifeless as the unicorns beside her. A satisfied giggle, Sunset teleported away. Sunset stepped out of the library into the cold night, wrapping her cloak around herself even tighter. It was with a heavy heart she descended to the top of the stairs and walked towards the city limits. That library had 1,000 years of worth of knowledge. Wanted nothing more than sit at the table and read everything. If only the Empire had appeared sooner. She stopped and looked at the city's Crystal Square. The castle rode high above the rest of the crystalline buildings, shining bright even under the blanket of darkness. Sunset could only imagine how any place slept in a place. Beneath the castle was the Crystal Heart, emitting a soft hum that unfortunately drew unwanted feelings in Sunset. It's not too late, a voice said in the back of her head. You can stop now. Go back and apologize to Celestia. Her eyes flashed red as he bared her teeth to the sky. No, she hissed. I'm almost there. This is the only way now. She glared at the castle, wondering where Keynes was inside of it. Sunset made a note to come back and kill Keynes after Celestia was dead. Then, she would sit and read the whole library. Sunset slid across the cold, unpolished floor and slammed against one of the crystal pillars lying against the side of the massive room. She slumped over, unable to move her bruised body. She closed her eyes and tried to draw up magic, but found a gripping pressure on her horn. She looked up and eyed this blue, spherical ornament laying some distance away. Damn that suppressor! She wheezed, warm breath visible in the freezing air. A loud roar brought her back to the moment at hand. She could see the beast slimming toward her in the reflection of the crystal tiles, its monstrous footsteps echoing throughout the cathedral-sized room. Sunset forced her head up and looked at the monstrosity in its lifeless sockets. The draconic beast loomed over her. It roared again, its brief wrecking of rotting flesh. It flexed one of its sinewy arms, raising a bony claw over its head, prepared to deal a final blow. Not yet, Sunset said, struggling to fight her voice. I can't die here. I've come too far. I refuse to die here. As the beast's claws came down, Sunset hurled her body out of the way, though it did little good. The monstrosity jerked its claws to the left and batted Sunset to the other side of the room, where she landed with her wing in a sickening crunch. Another roar shook the ceiling. Sunset couldn't help but wonder if it was the roar of triumph or annoyance. By the way it slashed its long, thorny tail, Sunset humorously thought that perhaps the beast was happy some pony had tried to play with it after all these years. Quick as that thought entered her mind, the pain in her broken wings sharply reminded her that this game would end with one of them dead. How do you kill something? They can't die, she wheezed. Dragon's tail inadvertently smacked the suppressor orb, and Sunset's eyes widened as renewed hope as it sailed through the air and smashed to pieces against a crystal pillar. Magic surged through her again as the beast drew near. Sunset unleashed a mighty torrent of fire that completely consumed it. Sunset knew the following roar was one of rage this time. The dragon reared its head back and unleashed a blast of its own. Blue wind covered Sunset's fur, even as she teleported to the other end of the hall. Every nerve in her wings screamed and her legs ached and were unresponsive as she struggled to keep her balance. The dragon, still on fire, turned its massive body around, preparing to charge again. The most outlined this idea drew upon Sunset's mind as she watched the fire coating its visible body slowly extinguish itself to nothing. The beast was truly the definition of immortal. What Sunset was read was true. He could never really die. This fell into something akin to unconsciousness, as she had that power. Perhaps it was her looming mortality, or the magic of two pieces of the dark regalia clouding her judgment, or maybe even the freezing temperatures making it hard to think straight. Whatever the reason, Sunset with all her strength rose to her hopes. Darkness bubbled around her horn, and black mist clung to her red eyes. If she could do this, she could become something greater than an Alicorn. Her immortality would be assured. She could be together with Celestia forever. The dragon lunged at her. With a primal roar of her own, Sunset lunged forward. Sunset, not quite equine, limped away from the dragon's carcass. It approached the end of the hall, where an Alicorn statue sat on a pedestal. Red gemstones sat embedded in his legs. At least it appeared. A black beam struck the Alicorn's face, and the entire statue disintegrated into dust, leaving only a set of black hoof bars. The creature smiled. Day court came to a close as the last petitioner left her throne room. Celestia sat at her dais, going over the remaining paperwork, while her assistant took things off a clipboard. Silence reigned for many minutes before Celestia cleared her throat. I think we can finish the rest of this another time. That'll be all today, Raven, she said pleasantly. Are you sure, Your Highness? Absolutely. I insist you enjoy the rest of your day. She urged Raven on with a wave of her hoof. It'd be a shame if you wasted a beautiful day like this. Raven smiled warmly. Thank you, Princess. She gathered a few of her own papers and hurried out the room. Celestia then looked at the 2 pairs of guards at the foot of her throne and near the front door. I ask you to take your leave for a few moments. I need to gather my thoughts. They all shared a concerned look, but made no word of protest. They each saluted and marched out the door after Raven. Once she was alone, Celestia threw several protection wards around the door and windows. All right, she said, eyes narrowed. You can come out now. Still as sharp as ever, I see. The figure pulled itself from the shadows and materialized in the center of the hall, showing off all its sharp teeth. Mother, it's been so long. Celestia held a hoof to her chest and struggled to get a breath of air. By the gods, what have you done to yourself, Sunset? Sunset stood as tall as Celestia now. Her coat was the color of dried blood, even though it seemed patchiness in various places. Near the bottom of her legs, her fetlocks were completely gone, revealing muscle, and even some bone before it was covered up by Scythian hoof guards. Her wings had lost all of her feathers. Far more draconic, they sported black webbing in between membranes and thick bones. Her eyes were no more, just 2 balls of fire floating in 2 black sockets. The master mane and tail, living pyres that danced wild and passionate, threatening to incinerate all who got too close. Do you like it? She asked, her voice as heartless and warped as her appearance. I knew you would be shocked. Yes, that's exactly the face I thought you would have. Celestia's starstruck gaze was painted over by pain and sadness. My dear sweet Sunset Simmer, what did you do to do this? Did I say nothing to reach you? Oh no, Mother. I learned a lot from listening to you. But you know what they say. Actions speak louder than words. Dismissing me from your tutelage, disowning me as your daughter, replacing me with Twilight Sparkle. The windows rattled with strength in her voice. Celestia did not flinch. You refuse to see reason when it stared you in the face, she said, most eating away her hard voice. You showed no remorse for the pain you inflicted on others. I sent you away, hoping you might find your own path instead of tailing so doggedly in mine. You treated me as if I committed a crime in trying to love you. Sunset lowered herself, like she was about to charge. I did everything for you, yet this is the thanks I get? You kicked me out so you could replace me with her? I could never replace you, Sunset. Celestia's voice was heavy. Tears started gathering at the corners of her eyes. You may not believe it, but I've always loved you. I always have and always will. Sunset raised herself up again. If you truly do, then say it. Tell all of Equestria that you love me, that I am your only daughter and heir to the throne. Disown Twilight Sparkle and admit I am her superior. Celestia closed her eyes. Your roles are relevant once upon a time, where I have considered doing it to fix our relationship. But I will do no such thing now. But you just said you loved me, Sunset roared. Yes, I do. But love is not something you parade around and hold over a pony's head. She opened her eyes, blazing fury within them. I love the mare you were, Sunset Simmer. Always to love and cherish our good memories together. I am afraid you are no longer my Sunset Simmer. Sunset stared blankly at her, digesting her words. You're right. Louis curled a smile. Sunset Simmer is dead. She died quite a while ago, honestly. No, I am a much better pony than little Sunset Simmer. I am a goddess that will not bow to. She flared her wings out. Her mane began to twist and start erratically. I will be Equestria's newest beacon of light and respect. Every pony, no, every living being will hail to me as the bringer of the sun! She lifted herself into the air. Answering, gathering a tip of her horn. You will call me Vesper Radiance, and you are going to love me, mother! Sunset peeled herself out of memory at last and flung the book across the room. She knew that, had she been awake, she would have thrown up. She could not be sure what made her more ill. The horrific and bloody battle transferred between Vesper Radiance, Celestia, and, after a short time, Luna, or the fact that part of her found enjoyment watching Celestia take a beating. She put her elbows up on a little table and ran her hose through her mane. Somewhere along the way of watching all these memories and thoughts, it became quite disheveled. Sunset inferred that her dream body reflected her current mental state. Her mind indeed felt tired, battered and worn from trying to process so much in such a short time. She wanted to stop. She could already guess how this battle was going to end. Yes, she did. She would be missing the final, crucial clue to solving the riddle. Although she had come this far, and now understood who and what and when, she didn't understand how. She turned away now, it would haunt her forever. Truth. Absolute certainty was within her reach. But the longer she sat there looking at her table, the more she wondered if she wanted it. Luna gently nudged her side, until Sunset strained herself to look. I know what you must be feeling, Sunset. You do not have to continue right now. You can wait until tomorrow, after you had time to take in everything else. I must admit that last memory was not pleasant to look at. No, Sunset's voice came out regularly. No, I need to finish what I started. We're almost done. She levitated the throne book back over, and stared at the black glare on the cover. The end, scrawled in magnificent cursive. She looked up the circular cells that lined the room. The sparks had started on one side of the door that led back to Sunset's own memories, came out onto the other, chronicling the other Sunset's life. It came full circle now. Whatever was in that last book marked the end of Vesper Radiance, and the beginning of Sunset Shimmer as he currently stood. There was no point in pointing out the truth of the matter, not when his black talons had Sunset's insides in a grasp. She and Vesper were inseparably linked to another. It was the truth, however, that Sunset looked through squinted eyes at a distant image. Only fancying this horrid memory would make it clear. Whatever happens, don't blame yourself. Princess Twilight's words ricocheted back to Sunset. She felt Church's black talons grip her harder. With a final, shuddering breath, Sunset opened the book again and dove into the memory. Celestia crashed back down to the demolished throne room, smashing against the last remains of her opulent chair. Dust and broken stone spread out around her. The rubble bathed in dust's bloody glow, free to shine through the collapsed ceiling. Vesper dropped out of the sky and staggered heavily when she landed over Celestia and crushed her wing, though Celestia did nothing more than whimper loudly. So sorry, Mother. I really didn't mean to do that one. Blood dripped out several open wounds. Fur and flesh charred in many places, and a great gas ran along the length of her face. She looked at Celestia and frowned. Mother, you look terrible. Celestia opened an eye. Sunset. Wham! Vesper kicked her hoof on top of Celestia's face. I already told you, Mother. My name is Vesper Radiance now. But you never listened, do you? She pressed further into Celestia with a sickening, wet crunch. Go on, Mother. Say it. Say how proud you are of me. Tell me you're better than Cadence, or Luna, or Twilight Sparkle! She laid her face closer to Celestia's. Tell me you love me. She removed her armored hoof, feeling Celestia's bloody face. Celestia coughed violently. I can't. Vesper returned. Well, Mother, I guess I had to kill you now. But don't worry. I know necromancy. I can keep your body around forever, Mother. Just you and me together forever. The double doors burst open. Twilight flew in, unleashing a ball of grim fury into Vesper's back. Vesper smashed into the wall with a scream of surprise, but quickly extracted her against herself. You! Vesper licked her lips hungrily, the princess before standing before her. 5 others lined up behind her, each bearing gleaming necklaces. Twilight Sparkle, I've been so long to meet you. Twilight kept herself guarded, her face armored with anger and vengeance. Who are you? Who am I? A twisted laugh rose through the bleeding sky. You never mentioned me, Mother. Twilight's guard inch down. Mother? She looked to Celestia for confirmation, but the princess was barely moving. Yes, Twilight Sparkle. I am Celestia's daughter, heir to Equestria and the sun itself! She lifted herself high into the air. I am Vesper Radiance, and you, little usurper, are trespassing on a very private, very intimate family matter! She ignited her horn and lifted Luna up from the corner, where she lay in a blood-red light. Here, take Tess and wait patiently in the hall, please. I'll kill you in a second, okay? Vesper flung Luna's limp body into the group. Twilight slowed her philosophy down enough so Rainbow and Fluttershy could catch her and bring her to the ground safely. Vesper dropped down, smashed her front hose together against the floor. The ground rolled up like a wave and rushed towards them, pushing it back against the hull. After their forced departure, Vesper slammed the door shut again, though she had not 2 seconds of peace before Twilight teleported charged at her. Vesper deflected all spells Twilight drew at her, though she had no time to counter them with any of her own. Twilight kept advancing, looking more determined with every step she took. Vesper refused to let her anywhere near Celestia. Great flap her wings, and Twilight hurling back into the hall, into a twisting funnel that left her on her back. Do you really want to die that badly? Sparkle! Her horn bubbled in inky darkness, her eyes burning brighter. How about a slow, painful death, That way, you can watch as I take away everything from you, just like how you stole it from me. Vesper released a black miasma that raced for Twilight. Just as the doors opened again. Pinkie yelled and shoved her out of the way. The miasma hit Pinkie instead, her entire body turning black and shuddering before she turned to normal. She stood still for a moment, eyes wide, then fell over. Pinkie! Several voices cried. Twilight stumbled over to her, ears bent, horn lit. She looked at Pinkie once before her ears flicked up, to back down again. She turned to Vesper, wild look on her face. What did you do? What's the matter, princess? Can't figure it out? Here, maybe if I hit you too, it'll become clearer. She charged her horn again, but Twilight beat her to her draw, hitting her with the force of a cannonball. She ran forward and hit Vesper again, then again and again, and one more time for good measure. Vesper was embedded in the wall once more, only much deeper than last time. Twilight slid to a stop in front of Celestia, her host soaking in royal blood. Princess! Celestia! Celestia, please say something. Tears started to Celestia's bloody face. Twilight, Celestia croaked. Please, I'm here. I'm here. Twilight leaned in closer. Please, Twilight, save her. Save her soul. What? She looked at Vesper, struggling to freeze herself. Celestia opened a puffy red eye. Luna, gone 1,000 years. Alone. She was so alone. Nobody deserves that punishment. I still love her. Please. Help her. Celestia took a desperate breath of air. Don't let her suffer any more. Get away from her! Vesper lost herself in Twilight, jaws open wide. Twilight put a hoof on Celestia and teleported back to where her friends gathered around Pinkie. She's mine! Mine! Twilight looked at Celestia. I'll try, princess. Rainbow, I need 10 seconds of distraction time so I can wake Pinkie up. Rainbow gave a silent salute and tore through the air. Vesper threw several balls of fire at her, but she barely maneuvered around with Saul's grace. A few of the content in Vesper's face, though it did no real damage. Rainbow, however, moved out of Vesper's direct line of fire, circling around for another run. Vesper spread her wings and jumped into the air, moving so fast she looked like she might have been teleporting. Rainbow paused for a second to glower at her, then followed her higher into the air at the top speed. Vesper waited for Rainbow to get close, weaved to the side and looped back around her. Fire remained, acted on its own, and reached out to grab Rainbow's back leg. Rainbow put an extra burst of speed at the last moment, The fire still managed to burn the bottom of her hoof where it instantly blistered. She yelped and swung around to dive at Vesper. Vesper ducked to the side as Rainbow flew at top speed to the ground. She waited for Rainbow to crash, but no such thing occurred. She banked with a perfect 180-degree turn and skidded to a halt in front of her friends. Vesper smiled to herself. Fine, I shall kill you all at once! She threw her head back, a massive orb of fire building on top of her hoof. Goodbye, Mother! She swung her head forward and threw the conference down, only to have it disappear completely in a rainbow vortex. Eyes wide as the spinning rainbow reached for her, spouted around her body. She could not even scream as the whole world went white. Then, everything was black. She was crying. She felt so full yet so very empty. She could see nothing, just darkness around her. She was falling through darkness at rapid speeds where everything was flowing away from her. A burst of light came from somewhere above her, and a pony stretched out a hoof at her. Sunset Simmer, please, take my hoof! Why? Why should I trust you? You don't want this for yourself. You don't want to be locked away for eternity. Please, I can't save your body, but I can save your soul! Who says I want saving? Maybe this is what I want. This is what I deserve. No pony deserves this, not even you. There was a hesitation. She could feel the darkness dragging on her, dragging her to wherever would be her prison. The light was fading quickly. Why should she accept it? It already stunned her, hadn't it? Then there was a new voice, much more familiar, much more heavenly. Sunset, my daughter, it's time to go home. She reached for the light, ignoring the protest of the dark. It was warm. It was soothing. Rest now, Sunset Simmer. Then she was floating. She didn't know where, for she could not see. She felt like she was being pulled upwards, yet something weighed her down. Neither seriously wanted to go up. No, up was good. Up was rest and peace. No, she could not go up yet. Something she needed to do, but what was it? Anger and hatred bled into her. Revenge! Yes, that's what's it. As quickly as they came, the feelings were gone. No, she didn't want revenge anymore. She wanted sleep. But something was still weighing her down. She felt magic. It was colder than ice, colder than death. It was something warm. It was loving, harmonious, like the wings of an angel. Mother. There was a flicker of unresolved hatred. Then there was a will. Something drove her on. Something she needed to do. But it slipped out of her mind again. She knew what she needed to do. She clung to that feeling. She was not ready to go up. She was not ready to be forgotten. She would not carry on. You know, she had to start all over. More magic burned white heart and began to take form. She felt herself grow less aware, more real, little by little. She returned, her soul burning brighter than ever. A foal's cry echoed throughout the room. Sunset closed the book. No emotion ran through her, just a stark emptiness. A buzz like static rose through her. Then she realized she could actually hear it buzzing around her. Her state of mind affecting her dream. She made it stop, though she failed to get her mind or body to do much else. Sunset, let a soft voice cut out the static. Say something. I am here for you. Sunset didn't speak right away. She kept staring at the words to the end on the book cover. A lie, like many things in her life. Her second life. Her illusion. She let out a hollow laugh. So she was right. I was right. There really is only one Sunset Simmer. Vesper Radiance. Sunset Shimmer. Trip finally pulled his claws out of Sunset. We're the exact same pony.